I think we're all still going to sell real estate. Realtors are still going to be involved. We'll all still have a vital role to play, but it will change. If you don't try to embrace it now, I'm afraid you're going to get left behind.
Terry is a veteran real estate agent with over 17 years of experience. He has owned 2 independent brokerages and a Century 21 franchise. And now he's a mega team leader with eXp Realty in the St. Augustine, Florida market. How you doing, Terry?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Doing good. So you spend a lot of time educating real estate professionals, primarily real estate agents, that's your crowd, about this NFT, blockchain, cryptocurrency, emerging market. Is there any particular reason why you feel compelled to educate realtors in this still very new market where we're not really seeing a lot of transactions involving this stuff?
Yeah, well, my background's in traditional real estate and running teams. In November last year, I was at a conference and I heard a young lady that had sold some crypto properties in California. She was explaining the process, and I went, "Oh my God, this is coming." I don't think it's like today. I mean, there's stuff going on today, but it's more of a future based. I've stepped out of production a couple of years back, actually, and I pretty much coach and teach the team and then other agents in the area. So I've just kind of taken it on. I think I want to raise the level of awareness and help prepare us for, what's coming. And it's simple things, really. It's just even the terminology. So many agents don't even understand that. But this NFT thing is it really kind of caught my ear. I got a little bit different twist. I agree with I'd love to see the name term changed to more of a security token or something like that. That sound, kind of way out there. But there has been some transactions. Real estate transactions go down. And Propy is a transaction platform. They're based out of California and Miami, but they're actually, I think, going to do 10 properties. They've done 1 in Florida. And what they did is they created an LLC, transferred ownership of the property to the LLC, and then auctioned off that LLC. The smart contract was set up so that as soon as the deadline for bids coming in hit, and whoever the top bid was, they were like within 15 minutes, they were invoiced for the cost and they paid it. And the transfer of ownership happened almost instantaneously.
Was that paid via USD or a cryptocurrency?
They used Ethereum. It was I think a $600,000 house that was auctioned. That was the price it went for. I don't remember how many ethers it was, but
correct. So then of course there's no deed transfer because that stays with the LLC, and right. It was just a transfer of ownership of the company.
You transfer of ownership. You've already transferred ownership of the property into the LLC, and so it's nothing more than at that point. Now there's a lot more because this is I call it the Wild West right still because there's so much going on. But I'm watching these transactions. How are they going down? What's going wrong? What's come up? There was, I think, the first NFT real estate transaction was tried over a year ago in California, and the owner did much like what they were just talking about. That they had a picture of the property, and nobody bid on it at all. So this is a slight variation to it that somebody's getting a tangible asset. I'd say tangible, an LLC, which is direct ownership.
I mean, ultimately, there's zero question in my mind that every transaction happens this way. Now, that whether that's 10, 20 years from now, 5 years from now, we don't necessarily know. But I think NFTs, especially, or security tokens, basically just tokens, digital representations of an asset, and especially in the financial sense of real estate. Or just any type of contract, insurance, title, deeds, your mortgage, all of those become digital contracts.
Yeah.
And they become on chain, which allows for a much faster closing process. And I think maybe there could be a day where we can actually have 7-day closings as opposed to like a 20 or 30 day. I don't know, but do you have any thoughts on that?
It's going to continue to get better. You're already, I think you have somebody lined up from a title company to talk, and it's they're the ones I think are going to, is title insurance required if it's on the blockchain? It's an immutable documentation of the history of the property and all that. I think those are things to come. Notaries, those kind of things are going to be impacted, but I think they'll lose if they don't get involved now. I think we're all still going to sell real estate. Realtors are still going to be involved. And we'll all still have a vital role to play, but it will change. It's and if you don't try to embrace it now, I'm afraid you're going to get left behind.
100%. And I thought about the whole what happens to title companies. So it'll be interesting to talk with the next guest. My guess is insurance still has value, and whether you're insuring title or you're insuring a transaction, because you can insure basically anything these days.
Yeah.
Insurance finds a way to provide value. Okay, so with NFTs, is where should realtors who have they're at the ground level, they've heard about NFTs, it's just art as far as they know Bitcoin, Ethereum, but otherwise 101. Is there any particular podcast you're recommending, or any resource for people to just get the basic level of understanding of what's going on?
The simplest thing is search your local area for any meetup groups and that have blockchain or NFTs or those kind of titles. I was on a 2-hour call earlier today with a guy that that's his specialty. So I learned from that, and then look for just actually look for the post. Propy, I mentioned before, they're big into the industry trying to make the change. They actually have a crypto certification course for agents. It's propy.com, and there's access to it. You can sign up for it. There's about 7 videos and a test. But then so at that point now you can start putting yourself out there as having some level of expertise. But
which I think is important, because a lot of agents, they'll brand themselves in unique niches, whether it's luxury, whether it's affordable housing or student housing or whatever. But a lot of those are also so crowded. That being a luxury agent isn't like a new term or that unique term to the consumer. But being a digital or like a crypto agent or an NFT agent or whatever that term ends up evolving into, that's a new niche that you can really set yourself apart from other agents, and potentially put yourself in a position to get a lot more clients as that economy, as that market grows, because it's still, you're probably years away, most people years away from ever doing a transaction that involves crypto, but you can be the go-to.
Yeah. Well, and you become the access then for the fractionalized ownerships, and that's the thing that I'm just totally excited about is fractionalizing properties. You can now get more investors involved at a lower level. It becomes a security token when they do that. So now you have the protection of the security. So even a low dollar investor has access to invest in high return properties through some of the things that are coming. Those are the things that really have me going. The single token, like right now, the tokenized properties, they don't have there's no mortgage on them. They've got to be clear, and so those are kind of testing the water, getting everything through, and that's going on now. But you can actually tokenize your primary residence. The example of $500,000 property with a $250,000 mortgage on it. Tokenize it, would create 500,000 $1 tokens, sell them on the secondary market. You get 250,000 of them sold. You paid the mortgage off. Now you live in the house. You have half ownership, but the debt's been taken over by somebody else that's buying the future equity in the property. Those kind of things are happening now, and we're talking about NFTs, but those are things I think that that we are going to be able to bring into the marketplace sooner rather than later. once the trust, we have a couple under our belt, there's more trust there.
Yeah. I posed that question on LinkedIn because that's really interesting to me. But all right, appreciate it, Terry. Look forward
Thanks for having me.